Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today's video is quite an interesting video. I was invited to spend a couple of days with one of the big names in the farrier industry. He travels around the world, recently been over to the American Farriers Association to give some talks. He's recently received his PhD. He's also a fellow of the Worshipful Company of Farriers. And he invited me to spend a couple of days with him, and we went over a few things, and one of those things was how to transition a horse from shod to barefoot, going over the conformational assessments, both statically and dynamically. We went over foot mapping and understanding geometric proportions, and then we basically took all that information and actually applied it to trimming the foot in order to allow it, or to maintain sort of hoof structure and solar depth, in order to actually allow that horse to transition from shod to barefoot. So really interesting. I've broken them down into a couple of videos, so let's jump straight into it. Check it out. Enjoy this video.
The way you choose to think right now is just that, a choice. You may not realize.
Hello.
Hello.
Mark, how's it going?
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Nice to see you. Keeping well?
It's a big one.
Okay guys, so I've come to spend a couple of days with this guy here. This is Mark Caldwell, and we're here to look at this horse who we are transitioning out of shoes to barefoot. And we're going to go over a little bit of foot mapping and relating that to the geometric proportions.
Take this horse, which is a thoroughbred horse with weak, collapsed heels, poor horn quality. The object of the exercise is transition it out of shoes into a barefoot habitat. So we're going to look at its general conformation, go through an assessment, use the foot mapping, and then add that to trying to determine the form and the shape of the foot and the geometric proportions of the foot, so that we leave foot mass and allow it to transition without over trimming it.
As Mark clearly pointed out, you know, we're dealing with a horse that's got poor horn quality, low heels. We've got this elongated toes. So getting this horse out of these shoes, allowing these foot to function more naturally, has got to be a bonus for this horse. So these shoes look like they've been on a while anyway, but we can see how these sort of heels have shot forward. The foot's migrated forward. So what we'd like to do is get these shoes off. We're going to bring back the leverage from the toe and maintain as much strength in these feet as we possibly can.
We've got some little yellow secret dots here. I'm going to stick on the horse's lateral side and down its dorsal plane. I'm going to put these roughly at the centre of the joints to try and indicate the axis of the limb, the axis of its shoulder, orientation of its limb, and the difference between its phalangeal axis and its shoulder axis, to highlight its hoof passing axis and general foot balance. I'm going to stick one of these in the middle of the scapula, another one of these just feeling down here to the shoulder, one at the elbow, one there in the middle of his knee, middle of his back joint.
This is a great tip that I've just picked up from the previous horse that we trimmed with Mark, and it allows you to actually look at the horse slightly differently. So you're not just looking at the horse, you're actually putting these markers on, and you can see the alignment of the whole four limbs. So it's a great tip, or a great little trick to be able to sort of just train your eye to look at the right things.
Unfortunately, lots of people, when they're looking at a horse, they look at its ears and its coat and it's shiny and how pretty it looks. I don't. I look at Adams's line diagrams. And so these just illustrate the points that Adams's line diagrams about conformation relate to. Now I know that not all horses have got perfect conformation, but those lines do indicate weight fall. Weight falls in a straight line through a centre of mass. Okay, so that's why we use these to illustrate the point. If we look here, drawing an imaginary line through its scapula, look down here at its phalangeal axis, those two should match.
So what are you actually seeing from these markers now on the horse? What can you see straight away? What stands out to yourself?
The first thing is that the horse isn't really prepared to stand square and load through the limb.
Yep.
Kind of stood forward. It's overloading the fetlock because it's got quite a long pastern. and the whole hoof wall is migrated forward. This column of bones should be square underneath the centre. Back, forward. See, it's reluctant to stand square in any shape or form. That's a postural adaptation about trying to unload the back of the heels. If you look down at the foot, you can see that the ground bearing border, or its base, is well in front of this load line through the limb. So as a consequence of that, the tendons take up a little bit more tension and try to pick the limb up out of the back of the heels. When it can't do that and it's putting too much strain on the tendons, it adopts its posture to try and relieve the strain. The line should dissect that limb equally in half to the ground bearing border. You can see that this foot is displaced off to the lateral side. The medial side is contracted and upright, and we've got what appears to be a slight carpal deviation. But if we pick this up and allow it to be non-weight bearing, you can see that actually the carpus lines up reasonably straight with the radius and the fetlock. So there's a slight deviation from the fetlock, and it's slightly toe in. And if you look over the coronary band, you can see all of the outside hoof wall up to the lateral heel, but from the medial quarter, you're losing it.
Yes.
Take a palmadorsal view. That imaginary line going through the three dots should dissect the ground bearing surface equally in half. You can see that that line is falling straight over the medial heel.
Yes.
Which is why that looks so contracted. And that's actually why it's contracting. Because all the load is down the medial side. As the horse walks away from you, watch where the fetlock's descending. You can see it descending over that medial heel. As it walks back towards you, you should be expecting that arc of flight to be outwards and inwards. And it's actually pretty straight. Now, a lot's talked about breakover, but if you watch this horse again, the actual point of breakover is in line with the centre of this knee. Because it's the point where the body's centre of mass passes over the knee goes into flexion, and the horse has to pick up and move. It's not strictly outside toe, it's in line with its conformation from the centre of its knee. You'd say that the shoe wear indicates that it's breaking over lateral toe, but it's not, it's in line with its knee here, look. Yeah? That actually accentuates the distortion of the hoof capsule. If that's its centre, you can see how contracted this medial heel is.
You can see that on the floor here. You can see how that heel's really come underneath it. The shoe's not helping it where it is now, because the shoe's offering no support to this heel whatsoever. You can see how this goes straight under.
Look,
she's coming over on it already, and you're getting a buckle in here on this wall.
You literally can't see the medial side, can you?
No, you can't.
But you can see all the lateral side.
You can.
So all of that load is causing that heel to bend actually towards the centre.
Yes.
It's folding over.
It's a fine example of why, you know, having a horse walk up and down, you don't need to necessarily trot it up and down, but walking it up and down can show so many things. You know, you can see how the limb or how the foot is being loaded, and what considerations need to be taken before you actually do anything to the foot.
So I've just noticed something really interesting. Watch this foot when it's being picked up. As Josh picks it up and flexes the fetlock and pastern to get underneath it, watch how it turns towards the axis of the body. That's indicating that fetlock varus conformation that we saw outside. Just slowly pick it up.
This one again.
Yeah, now pick it up as if you're going to get underneath it. Now watch. See how it turns?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's that fetlock varus.
Do that again. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. On this right hand, you put two more of these fluorescent yellow stickers to try and give you an impression of the coronary band trajectory. Okay, now when you look at that coronary band trajectory, that should come and fall just below into the back of the carpus. If you look at this one, it's almost up to the elbow. Yeah?
Yep.
If you also look at this foot, there's a domed humped appearance 2/3 of the way up, coupled with this low, weak, collapsed heel behind, indicate that P3 is possibly derotated or at least parallel in origin on its palmar angle. Another indication of that is the deep vault at the tip of the frog. See how the sole's really deeply vaulted?
Yeah,
that means that the arch of P3 is further up the hoof wall than the hoof. And you look at the heel bulbs here, they're quite squashed and flat.
You were saying that the arch of the pedal bone is higher up the hoof wall. What does that mean exactly?
Well, there's your normal P3 is normally at an angle, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's domed, isn't it, where the insertion plexus angle goes.
Yeah.
If it's rotated,
I see.
yeah,
Right,
the
okay.
peak of that arch is higher.
Right.
Which is why the sole looks more arched at that point of frog.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Josh is going to take these shoes off now, and then we're going to have a look at the solar aspect of the foot. We'll do a little bit of foot mapping, and then we'll see what the foot's showing us. Okay guys, so that's part one. So there's so much information that Mark's covering here. I decided to break these videos down into a couple of series or a couple of parts. So so the next couple of videos that are coming up, we're going to look into foot mapping a little bit more. I know I've highlighted it on a previous video, but we're going to go into that a little bit more detail and actually explain what we mean by geometric proportions, and then we're going to go on in probably another video of how we actually interpret all that information and actually trim the foot accordingly. So how we actually take it from shoes to barefoot. So there's so much information to come, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm very grateful to Mark for spending a bit of time with me. I'll drop his social media pages into the description below, and even his website. And some of the products that we've used, some of the calipers, the contour gauges, all them sort of gadgets, I'm going to drop links into the description where you can actually get some of them for yourselves. And if I can get hold of some, I'll certainly be popping them onto the shop over on the website, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. Check out some of my other videos here, and I shall see you on the next video. Take it easy.